Hi, everyone. We're back. Going to talk about Keynote. We're doing a lot of these, and we're kind of we're starting up doing these hours where we kind of talk about something technologically based for educators. So a lot of our hours with education tend to be philosophical and thought provoking. And we realized we kind of stepped over the technical part. So we're going to take on a subject one at a time and just talk through things. And you can definitely feel free if you're watching here to you can ask questions. I'm going to show you a couple things that I felt like we didn't cover very well, or tidbits that I was working on this week and went, oh, this is kind of cool. I could show this over the weekend. So I'll kind of be stacking up little tips and tricks of Keynote based on things that I'm actually putting together. So so first thing I'll show you is, let me see if I can cut to this. And the one thing is I've almost filled up my Extreme. This week I had a presentation where I literally had every input. Just a little background. I was doing a presentation and I was drawing over it. I had two different keynotes running that I could switch back and forth to. I had a phone, an iPad, a lot of different bits and pieces that were all there, and it was useful. I'm growing into it. So anyway, so let me cut to this. This is my little this is just a pseudo schedule that I kind of built just for you to look at, and we'll show that slide in a second. So if I hit play, you will see. There we go. So I'll just show you what it looks like first, and let's see if I make this. This is, by the way, I have it always set. It used to be you had to do it by hand. I now have it always set so that I can just hit this little and it'll go full screen. But it's not full screen. So if you have two screens, it's not turning the other screen off. So there's me. Hi. So live video is, and so I've been playing with this thing where I can just use it. Remember that live video is we talked about this last week, but I've started to use it in more of the presentations, and it's really useful to have like a picture-in-picture. I will say that a lot of the stuff I do in Keynote, I do worry that it sometimes becomes more of the conversation than what I was talking about, because everyone's like, how did you do that? And so you have to be kind of careful with that. But I thought I'd show you, this is one of the ways that I build schedules. So I'll show how all this works here in a second. But again, I'm always trying to think about how am I going to make it look like a broadcast? And again, you can do that in Keynote, which is kind of amazing. So let me go back to this. So you'll see this spin up, and you'll see all these things just kind of flow in. And then I can start talking about this is how we're going to do this. And these are all just little fades. But I can also, make them pop like that if I want to, while I'm talking about these are the things that we're going to, put together here. Or I can just have it go down like that. So these are kind of, whoops, I didn't mean to go back all the way. So we'll do this one more time. So anyway, and as I said, as I start to go through these, if there's any questions or you want me to, I'll break this down a little bit, but if you have questions about what I'm doing, so these are all popping in, and I can group them how I want. I can have it go like this. I can also have them kind of roll out like this. So these are kind of nice little animations. Again, everything I'm doing here is all built in. So it's all, there's nothing about it that you can't do relatively easily, and then you can just have that one pop there. So that is it's kind of a nice, the one I like the most. This I like swinging in, but I like this. This kind of, it's all kind of built in, and I'll show you how that works here right now, actually. So if we look at that, there's a couple things that happened here. If I go in, the thing that really I'm taking advantage of for almost all of this is the animation effects, and specifically what I do a lot is you got to make sure that these are in the right order, or you can reorder them later. But how you build them makes a big difference. So what you want to be careful of is that if you start rearranging things, if you build them and then rearrange them, they're going to be out of order in the build order automatically. So if I do Friday, I copy each one of these in the order that I'm going to want them to appear, because then what I can do is simply select them all and say, I want them all to flow in, so I can give them all a behavior together, and they'll all do what they need to do. Now, the other thing is that you'll see here, now, I'm also doing something where I'm making the direction right to left. That's the way I want to build it. If you look at the ones that I have here, I'm having them. This is the direction. This is the direction that I'm using here. This is my duration, so I play with that all the time as I go through it. You'll also notice here that when I look at this one, this is the one that this is a pop and this is a roll. I I did turn off bounce because it's just goofy. So anyway, I was like, okay, because you can, and so I turn bounce off for a lot of these because it feels goofy. I'll turn it on here and we'll do a preview and you'll see it kind of go. It's a little bounce, but it's like, I feel like it's too much. So anyway, so I turned that off. And so but I really think through every bit of this little bit of this process. Now, one of the other things that I'm doing here is you'll see that I am paying it to, there's a lot of build order here. So this default camera is on its own. So what you're going to say is on the click, I want this to happen without any delay. I want it to go through there. Now, when I get to all of the things that go across the sides, I have this first one is on click, right? But when I go to the next one, if I look at the next one here, this is with build to. So this goes, and all of these, I selected all of them and just said, you just select them all, shift click, and you select them all and you say, I want this to happen with build to. But then what I did is I give them each a delay. So they're all happening just after build to. So and it causes them all to kind of flow in, into that process. And so that little delay in there in the build is useful here, because that's gonna give them that. And then of course you can we can preview it so you can see how it's all gonna. And that's so that's what's that's how those things are throwing in there. And then of course then the next ones are just dissolves, they're pops, they're all separate. But thinking about this build order and how you're going to attach them to each other. So for instance, if I grab this one and I say, I want this one to go, I can go with build 17 or I can go after build 17. So I go after build 17. And so then what I'll do is if I preview it, see that way it just happens. I don't have to click each one of those. It'll just go blunk, 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 blunk right after when one build ends, the other build starts. So, that's how those are working there. A reminder that one of the things that is nice here, I was always using picture frame, but the live video, when you select it, the rounding is built. This corner radius is, this corner radius here, and that's live. You want to use it there rather than using a rounded corner radius somewhere else. So if I make this less, you can see how it just starts to become, harder here. You want to use it here because then you can use the line style, whereas otherwise you'd use to get rounded corners. If you use picture frame, you won't get the line style. And so, so I can then of course make this, whatever this is a nice one I like too. I like that one. I feel like Bob Ross. Oh, we're going to have like a nice little edge here. So anyway, so these are kind of cool. I gave it a drop shadow as well, because why not? So the drop shadows are nice because they separate it out just a little bit, from what you have there. So anyway, so that is that there. The other thing that I wanted to show from what I was playing with is two things here. Is that one is that one of the big problems with the Earth. This is an object I use a lot because I do global events, and so I'm constantly like, everyone's going to be here, and then they're going to be here, and then they're going to be here. And the thing that drives me absolutely bonkers is that when I go into places and I add the Earth, there's the thing that drives me crazy is, there's a couple things. One is, the big thing is I don't need Antarctica, like ever. Like I don't, and so unless I do an event from Antarctica, and even then I would probably not want to display it this way. And I also generally am not doing many events that interact with Greenland. So what you can do is you can right click on it and say make editable. So when you make it editable, all the points appear, and now I can simply drag. I can even shift drag like this, and then hit delete. And it'll just get rid of those points for me. And so you can do that. The thing that I do is I've done that. And now in my shapes, under the other thing you can do here is you can right click and you can say save to my shapes. Now I don't have to do it again. So now I can go into my shapes, and you'll see that when I do it, I have a shape here that is Earth light, which is, I've gotten rid of Antarctica and a lot of the stuff and the Arctic and stuff I don't need for what I do. And I save it out. So now when I want to add it, it is now the version of the Earth map that I like is right there. And I could change the colors. I could do all those things and then save it. I don't know if I can actually. I don't think I can change the colors. I think it'll always come blue. So anyway, that's just something to kind of, that is really useful for things you use all the time. You build something out like I have a specific way I like to show cameras, these long lenses, this long lens camera. I built that I just threw the shapes together, but then I save it out and call it camera so that I can just drag it in and I don't have to rebuild it over and over again. These ones here, this truck, that's actually an EPS that I imported using that weird AI to Keynote thing that doesn't work anymore in Monterey. Then I have logos and I have people. This is the people that I like to use. So anyway, so those are things that I, as I work through it, this is a different copy. So I have a lot less than I normally have, but that's a great way to save those shapes out. The other thing that's a problem is when you have an object and you can lock it. So you say, I don't want to select it. So if I put this in the background, I don't want to select it, but it's constantly selecting. Like it's just constantly like, no matter what you do, you're just like, oh my goodness. Like I don't want you to interact with it. And so the other thing to remember is the way it's sitting in this slide is you can select not the object here, but the slide over here. And you can say edit slide layouts. So in edit slide layout, you'll see that I have Earth BG that I have actually in the layout here. So that is the Earth, right? But I put it into the slide. So if you have something that you want as a background in Keynote, you can put it into the slide and you can do this with any slide, just make a new slide and put it in. And sometimes I'll have an event, I'll have a document that will literally have 5 or 6 of new slides that I've added so that I don't have to interact with them. I know that they're backgrounds and then I don't have to select them, but that's the workaround to the frustrating part of this. And then at the bottom you hit, okay, I'm done. I think. Done over here. Sorry. So anyway, so that's something I just thought it's a useful trick that I use a lot that I haven't seen a lot of other people use. So I figured I'd show it here. And then the last thing I was going to show is animation. So you'll see if I hit play here. There we go. This animates over here, jiggles a little bit, and then fades away. Now, how do you do that? That's not a transition. So what I'm doing here is if I select this, you'll see in animate. There's multiple actions here, so I can look at the build order to see what I have here. So that's my camera popping in, and in this square was is a motion, and it's kind of a cool way that they do it. It's if I let's grab something else here. We'll just so I can show you how it works. Let's do an arrow, and we'll say I want this arrow to I want to go into an action and say I want it to move, and it does this little thing where it moves and then it hands it to you. So now I can go here like this. I can move it around, and I can do this. I can even let's see. We can keep on adding. It'll just keep letting you subdivide those points like that. I can also say I want to align it to the path, and then I'm gonna rotate it. Hold down the command key and rotate it to where, what alignment do I want in the path to make that work. And then we'll see, we can preview it. You can see, whoop, so, and then I can, if I wanted to slow it down, I can. So, you can have, you can add that animation. Now, the other thing I'm doing here, if I hit this, is that the square is, I'm doing one action after the other. And you can see when you're here, you can say, I want to add an action to it. So I just added a jiggle, which is there. Then I added, this gets back into what we saw before. I added the move that was there, but I grouped it with the, I set the fade to with build for, but I could also do after build for instance. And then I could go in here and, so what would happen there, if we hit play, it's going to go like this, then it's going to jiggle, and then it's going to do this and then fade out. So you it's a very simple keyframing process that isn't, for someone who does this a lot, it's a little painful. But what you can do is, if you want to set keyframes and really have them, be keyframes, is you can also set something where this is where you're going to add I'm going to have this here, and then I'm going to say, okay, it's a little bit, it's not that much different. It took me a little while. I felt like it was a little goofy, but it does work. I can do this. I can pull this out, and then I can add an action, which is another move. And then now I can, put it somewhere else. And now I have, now I can start building actual keyframes. It's going to go to here, to here, to here, to here. The real problem that that I have with this is, as an animator, I can't control the continuity between these, over time. So there's a lot of things we have control over, but it is, but it does work, where you can have, these things happen. Now what happens is I can go to here. I can say this is going to be fast, so I'm going to lower the move here. Let's see the build order, and then this one is going to be slow, and then this one is going to be fast, and then I'm going to take these two and say I want you to do that after the previous build. And let's try previewing this here. It's going to whoop. Ooh, it goes nice and slow. And you have to make that noise while you're animating. So anyway, so that's how you can build a complex animation. You can start building complex animations in Keynote, and that's kind of a new tool for me. So I haven't really incorporated a lot other than I sit there and play with it when I'm in conferences that I don't need to talk about. No, I don't need to talk. So anyway, those are the things that I thought would be kind of fun little tips for the morning. And then I thought we'd just go to any questions that pop up. Do we have someone ready to read, or I can read them. Let's see. We'll just do it informally here today, like Sunday. The first, did anyone else have anyone on the panel have anything to add before they? I guess you can raise your hand if. Yeah, go ahead, Sky.
When you did the little round circle around your shape, did you know that little green arrow or little green button above can also do the reshaping of your Bezier, your curve?
I'm trying to figure out what you mean, this or this?
Highlight your image.
Oh, of my image or the?
Yeah, that. Activate that, and you see the little green key there. Oh. It's manual versus doing it.
Yes, I just I use that all the time with the regular shape, and I just didn't think of it as an available thing in live. Yeah, that is great.
And I use a stylus a lot, so I mean I love that you can articulate inside of numbers. Yeah. But
that's cool. That's good. That's a great tip. I love that. Josh Kaufman asks, Alex, how are you capturing Keynote to bring it into Zoom? Are there any outputs for Keynote besides screen scraping? And the answer is I'm screen scraping. So I am going out of what's actually happening here is that I'm going, the video of me is going in. I'm splitting my camera to two different switchers. So one switcher is my little ATEM that I had before, and the other one's the ISO. So the camera goes to both of those. And then that's how I'm getting this live thing that I have here. And then the output of this computer goes into a 8x8 matrix. And so it puts it back up on this monitor, and it also sends it over to the switcher. So that's how I'm getting it into there. And then what that means also is that I can, I had one more other thing to show you. Okay, anyway. So I can also, I can draw on it because I have that in the switcher. So I can have a Keynote that I'm showing, but I can also draw on top of it. I'll keep the other thing for another day because it takes me a little time to set up. So if we run out of time, we'll do it. I'll run out of questions. Next question is from James Babbitt. He said, using Keynote to make video that includes several slides and an audio recording, how do you export it to someone using Windows? So how do you export your Keynote to someone who's using Windows PC or Chromebook? Typically, I will do that as a QuickTime. So if we go back over here and we look up, when I say play, I can record a slideshow. And so what you can do there is when I do this, it'll, I can hit, let's see here. This is, that's showing the camera that's available. But I can hit record down here, and then it's going to record it. You can see it down at the bottom here. And so now I can go through and do the whole presentation, one step at a time, talking over it. It's going to keep track of that, and it's going to keep it you can export it out as a QuickTime file. And that's the easiest way to do it, in my opinion. Most things can do. And then if for some reason they can't see it in QuickTime, then it's just a matter of changing that. It's a matter of just changing the format of the video to whatever makes sense for them. Next question is from Tony Mobley. He said, how can I bring multi-camera based on my setup? Main camera is an iPhone XS Max, 2 iPads connected to the ATEM Mini Pro, and Apple TV 3rd generation. So I would need to test it, but I actually think I can't prep it right now, but I actually think that you could plug all of those directly into your Mac Mini, and it will see the phone. I know it'll see the iPhone. Now, Brian Anderson says it'll see both sides of the iPhone. It'll see both cameras and make them both available to you. So if you want to do an interview inside of Keynote, you could actually do it where it's grabbing both of those at the same time. I have not been able to do it. I don't know why. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I got to say, maybe we'll get Brian to come on and show us how he's doing that. But so he says it'll see both cameras on the iPhone, but it'll definitely see one, and it'll see the iPads as well, and then it'll also see Apple TVs. so you may be able to take all 4 of those devices and plug them in, and it's a great question, and I will try to test it in the next, not today, but in the next week. I'll try to test doing that because I have all those things laying around. So it might be not the same number of iPads and iPhones, but I'll see if I can connect. I didn't even think about that, but I could connect. That is a good idea, Tony. But yeah, you could theoretically put all of them into the iPad. I mean, into Keynote as sources.
Quick question, Alex. So should I separate them from the ATEM? Should they come in?
Yeah, no. If what I'm talking now, I would not do a production. I wouldn't do your show this way. But if I was doing presentations, I'd be tempted to think about. If I didn't have a switcher, I think that you could take all those devices. I'm just going to try this really quickly here because I am fascinated by this idea. Let's see, live video. Now here's my live video here. I'm going to go into, let's close this. I'm going to select this, go to format, go to live video. I'm going to add a source. There you go. No, doesn't see it. I thought it worked before. Maybe I have to restart Keynote, so we won't do that right now. But I thought I've just added these in the past and they've just come up, but doesn't seem to be seen. I know I saw the camera earlier. Now I don't know why. So we'll have to play with that a little bit more. But yeah, yeah, it should work. It works in my head. Oh wait, let me try.
Is your camera coming in separately, or is it going through ATEM?
Well, no, that was just me connecting my iPhone to it. Let me try my
I'm sorry, that's what I mean.
iPhone.
Your iPhone. Is your iPhone going directly into the CPU?
Yeah, I had it plugged in, and again, I think that we have done this before. I know I've done it before, so let me see if this worked. No, this is with the newest iPhone. Oh, there it is. So maybe it's just my older iPhone that didn't show there.
Right, Brian will be available in a minute if we want him to join.
Because this is this is the other thing that I couldn't quite get. It's good for training it, but I couldn't get the clean output. You'll see the clean output's on. It's good for training, but I couldn't get it to turn off on Filmic to use it as a raw camera. And I feel like Brian must be doing something different than what I'm doing, for that. So, yeah. So, anyway, we'll see. We'll see if Brian can show us a little bit of it.
Go ahead and just try your camera app then on your phone.
Yeah.
Rather than Filmic.
I think the problem is that it is. But the problem is you see the camera.
Yep.
So that's the part I don't know what Brian's doing that's different, and we'll wait for him to We'll come back to this when Brian comes back because he knows something that we don't. Okay, so let's now.
And my gut says you would change the perspective of which camera, the front or the back.
I know
on
it's
the
just there's
pho-
something he
on the
showed
phone.
me. He showed
Yeah.
me a screen capture of it with both, and I just couldn't find it. John Snyder from Reno, Nevada says, "Can you copy paste the motion path in Keynote to make sure that it's symmetrical between frames?" I don't think you. Well, let's see here. Hold on. Let's turn this one off again. So if we add something here and we say, I want to do an animation, add effect move, and then I'm going to pull it a little bit further over. And then I'm going to go into the build order. I'm going to see if I can copy and paste that. No, that did not work. That's a URL. Let's try to see if I can. Yeah, it doesn't seem like I can. I don't see an easy way to cut and paste the movement, and I may be missing something. Let's see if I drag it. Yeah, the build order doesn't seem. I don't see a way to do that. But we can. Brian, do you want to? Do you have a? Should we make you a co-host?
I'm not quite there, but actually, if you check your Discord, Alex, there's a Keynote file. If you could open it on your phone, you'll have it preset, I think, to use.
Oh, I need to use it on my phone.
On your phone for the front back camera thing I was trying to show you.
Oh, it's on the phone.
Yep.
I got it. Okay. No, that makes more sense. So you can pick both of them if you're using an iOS device. I was trying to use the phone as an external input into a desktop. That doesn't work.
Yeah, it does. I did that last week. Give me a minute. I'll set some up. 1 minute.
I wonder if it's. I wonder if I have to be in Keynote while connected.
I think so. You might have to restart Keynote for it to see the phone, if I remember correct.
You can use your phone as a. Yeah. Okay. So I'll let you keep. I will keep on answering questions while you get set up. I need to see how I should. Yeah. So I don't know, John. I don't think we can do that. Sky Gleason says, "How do you create 2D flat animation with a transparent background for a video like a lower third?"
Can you make a lower third animation and then export it to?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So if you say I want a new file, it's a little confusing. So you have to know. Yeah, you have to kind of know what you're doing here. So I'm going to start this. I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to have we'll just do this really quickly. We'll do a shape. We'll just make this nice and we'll have to make it long like this, put it up here like this, put it down here like that. And then, so we want it to go there, and we want to, I lost my mouse. Hold on. There we go. So one thing with Synergy is that you get, I'm on some other computer somewhere. Anyway, so I have this here. I'm going to give it, let's say I'm going to give it a gradient, just for fun, and look a little cheesy. And then I'm going to, and then we can give it we'll reduce its opacity so that will fade in. And then I'm going to add some text, and we're going to call this Joe Smith. And of course, it looks ugly. It needs to be a make pretty where it just says, "Oh, you have this much space. I know what to do with it." That's AI that I need. And so now I'm going to go make it bold. I'll have Joe Smith. We'll make it Acme Motor Company. And we'll make that one a little bit smaller.
Can you grab the text and make it smaller, or do you always have to go up to the box?
No, I tend to be precise.
Yeah, I know.
You probably can. I think you can just do minus. Yeah, you can just do minus and plus.
Oh, Ooh,
That works too. So just
Sweet.
command minus and plus will scale the text up and down.
or whatever
by
height,
1
or
point.
whatever element is highlighted.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so now I have these two. I can give this one. Let's give this one an animation. We're going to have it. We'll have it fade and move like that, and then we'll have it. I do make a lot of. For 25 years, I've made noises while I animate. So it's there we go. In shared offices, it's been a problem because a lot of us did it though. We were like, so anyway, so then with this, we might, oops. Let's see.
I know what to get you for Christmas now. A lightsaber that does the sound effects for you.
I'll do it for it. We had a problem with Ewan McGregor did it while he was doing the lightsaber. It was a thing.
Too funny.
Anyway, so there's the animation there. Anyway, so there's your little animations there. And then we can also do the same thing we did before, which is that we can take this and we can, this is kind of an interesting one because what we're going to do is we're going to say, I want you to this, actually I want them all to happen at the same time. So I want this to, let's see, yeah, after previous build, but I want this one to be with build 2, but I want this one to be slightly delayed and this one slightly delayed again. Probably could have done them both that way, and now if I preview it, it'll go like that. So now I have this little lower third animation that I want. Now what I need to do is I need to go to the slide. So I select the slide, and if I look at the format, you have to click on the slide to see that. And what you have to do is you go into say no fill. Now it won't change anything when you say no fill, but what it does is now there's nothing back here. So when you export a, let's just export an image, and I say, I switch this to ping, for instance, export with transparent backgrounds. So that's the still. Now if I did a movie and I, let's see here, movie. No, yeah, so plain is fine. 1080p. And we can go into custom. Now you have Apple ProRes 444. So that's going to export with transparent animations. So 30 frames a second or 2997, for that. So once you flip this switch, you can definitely, oops, that's interesting. I wonder if you put it in like this.
Well, again, do you actually have to have a full frame because you're going to
You don't.
transparent?
Sometimes it makes it easier if you're doing ProRes because you're
Yeah.
going to play it out of a ProRes thing.
Yep.
And so now
Don't
you
have to.
go next, and we say lower third, and I have no idea if this will work. It's like we're just. I realized that let's see, put it in. Trying to think about where I can put this. Yeah, I can't do this on a stream. So anyway, I can't show you my desktop.
No.
So anyway, but anyway, so you get the sense of what it would take to do that.
Yes, thank you.
And you can definitely export with alpha channels to do that.
Now,
so.
in other applications, the build order is often referred to as the inspector or the properties. And I'm just observing that build order is kind of that's your magic.
Yeah, build order is
spot.
where build order is like one of the most important things to understand about a good Keynote a good presentation. People who do great presentations understand everything about the build order.
Yeah,
like that's the secret sauce inside of a Keynote. Go ahead, Brian. You ready?
Yeah, sorry, I don't have the back end Mukana in front of me, but if I can share,
yep,
I'll show it to you.
Tony, can you make Brian a co-host?
Already am, I think. It looks like
Already done.
Excellent.
You are the man. All right, so you should. Do you see it? It says MacBook webcam. Everybody, you got it?
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
quite. It's a little bit off the bottom.
Oh, I can,
Alright.
I can see it in the second screen. You don't see the whole thing?
No, but
Huh.
I don't think I'm zoomed in.
Because I see his presentation and a lot of things around it.
Oh, did I share my whole screen?
Yeah, you did.
Ah, that's not what I meant to share. I'm sorry. Let me just share the keynote again. Nothing to see here.
Fortunately, the plans to the reactor were not
Yeah,
present there. It was close.
But
There we
thanks
go.
for
That's
There
what
we
you
go.
want.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
can see it.
that's what you want. So this is my MacBook webcam. I've got my phone connected via Lightning to the MacBook, and if I go to the next slide, you should see there it is. So that is a keynote presentation on my phone, and I can pop from slide to slide. But what's cool is you can set up. So that's the front camera on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
That's the back camera on the phone. And I'm going to try and do something that's reasonably interesting here. And if I go to the next slide, oh, clicked the wrong thing. Sorry, guys. Am I no longer sharing?
You are no longer sharing.
There we go. Sorry. There you go. Got it back.
Yes, we do.
So now on my phone, you can see I can select, and it's showing everything that I'm doing on my phone. So I'm using my finger to move that object around on the screen on Keynote.
Mm-hmm.
If I play this full screen, so I'm now actually playing the Keynote on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And there you see two cameras live simultaneously, and you can do stuff like that.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And is there a way
So-
to trim the black pillars?
Yeah. So that would be in the Keynote on the laptop, just cropping it. I just threw it
Can
in there
you,
real
though,
quick.
with the video? I don't know if I can with video. That's the problem.
Um,
Maybe it's custom. Maybe it's custom.
Yeah, you can do it with custom. But to Tony's question earlier, you could hook up a phone, you could hook up an iPad,
Mhm.
you know, as long as you're connected to the USB on the computer, you know.
So,
There
but
you go.
what's funny is you're using the presentation of Keynote out as the camera for the thing.
Well, and this is what we talked about the other day or last weekend is I was using, remember I had a camera pointed down and I was sliding a piece of jewelry under it.
Mm-hmm.
That was using a phone on a little stand, and I was using Filmic Pro with a clean out. But then later I was out, well, it was showing anything on the screen. So if I exit this right now,
Because my Filmic Pro is showing my whole interface.
no, I was showing clean. But notice right there now, that's my iPhone desktop. So this is a way that you could use, you could demo an app on your phone, you know.
Yeah.
So there's my identity VR controls and so on. So yeah.
Yeah.
So to Tony's question, connect the device to the computer, your phone, your iPad, whatever, and they can all become cameras. And if you get really crazy with what I just did there, you can have the front and the back camera. So I just sent you in Discord, Alex, a sample stack, and I can send it to you, Tony, if you want. But
it makes more sense now. I think what I was trying to do was, what I wanted to do was have the phone send me over Lightning both cameras as different options, and
right,
it doesn't do that.
No,
So
but you build it in phone, play that as a Keynote into Keynote.
Yeah.
So Keynote
That's
on,
cool.
Keynote on. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That's awesome.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Yeah.
So right now, what I've done is I've connected my 1C to the USB on the computer, and but I can only get my main default camera, which is the iPhone XS Max, and the 1C to show. Because the other devices are plugged into the ATEM, it's only letting me see one Blackmagic resource.
Yeah, you can't do it through the ATEM. They have to be plugged in separately to the thing.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. All right, where were we? Next question is from John Snyder, and he asks, how do you copy styles in Keynote so that all the shapes have the same fill and outline? Actually, hold on, let me see.
Yeah, there's a copy style command.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what that. I should use it more than I actually do.
It's in the format menu.
Hold on.
Select an object.
So if I select an object and go into the format, well, this object doesn't have anything, right? So let's go back into format, and then I can go to style, right? And you can do it here too, right? So if I have something selected, and I give it an outline, give it some kind of crazy outline. We'll make it really big. We'll make it red. This will be the form that nobody wants. Let's see, drop shadow, and we'll make the drop shadow really so that you know that it's a drop shadow. And then we'll also give it a reflection. So there we go. So now if we go, you can do it. What Brian was talking about is I can go in here and I can say copy style and paste style there. I can also save it here. So now I have that there. So if I select this and click on that, it'll be exactly the same. Or if I select this, I wonder what that'll do. It will, boom. So that's a very, I'm sorry for hurting your eyes that way, but it works. So anyway, hold on, I'm looking, I got my things right. So yeah, so that's how you save those styles. I have to admit, I don't do it very often because I'm constantly evolving. Like I'm constantly doing something different with that, but it would be more useful to do it that way. Next question is from Eduardo Augustine in Panama. And he says, okay, whoever's hitting something on the back end, you're killing me. Let's see. Oh, because I'm not used to it. I think that everyone else is trying to, okay, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I will now no longer click on the answer button. So you guys can go ahead and do that. Sorry about that. And I will apologize right now. What's the difference? It's not the same as sharing, right? Why did I export in 1920 by 1980 by 1080 because I was typing fast. My brain wasn't going fast enough. So that was the answer to that question. And then I think that these got out of order. No, it says, what's the difference? It's not the same as sharing. It's definitely not the same as sharing. And I don't know why it's interacting with Filmic differently than me just saying Filmic share this. And I don't know why that's the case. And then John Snyder was like, how is Brian getting a clean camera feed in Keynote? So are you using Filmic for that, Brian, to get the clean camera feed to film out of Filmic? How do you get a clean camera feed from the phone to Keynote on the desktop?
Just give me 1 second. I'll load it up. I'm going to share screen again.
Okay.
Keynote. There we are. So this is Filmic now on my phone that you're seeing there with the circle and the square. I forget what they call those. And there's a preset, if I'm not mistaken, and actually it's not showing the whole thing. Let me scale this down real quick.
That's what we would expect. I mean, there's you can turn those things off, but what we haven't seen is a clean feed from Filmic to.
Yeah. Give me why is this not showing me the whole thing? Ask, device landscape. So it's scaled up. So there is more on the screen that's from Filmic. There's a preset in Filmic. And I don't know.
Under hardware.
Is it under hardware? Yeah. And there's a Yeah, so clean HDMI out, but there's also a tap, and I'll track it down and show you here. But basically how I get it is you set that setting and it's tap to remove interface or something. And if I just tap on the screen now, there it goes. And that's clean.
Got it.
And give me a second and I'll find out where that menu is. I can't get the whole thing on the screen right now.
Okay. And we got one more question coming in here. Dennis Champion Walker said, I see that green screen is still reflecting on your face. The green screen is still. Oh, yeah. I forgot to change that because this is the only time that it happens. So what Dennis is pointing out is there's green over here because if we go late enough in this room, which we haven't been doing it recently, the sun hits the green screen and comes out. There's one little piece of a green screen that's hanging down that's picking up sun. So I'm a little green. Yeah, Brian, did you? Nope, you got it.
Yeah. So there's just enough of it on the screen so I can show it to you. So if you pop open, yeah, so you go device and then you go to tap to hide interface.
And then, oh, that's perfect. And then the other thing is, I think that if you go into your live video, it should be scale. Try turning your scale down. When you turn your scale down,
it is all the way down. I don't know what's going on.
Can you go? Oh, right.
There's device portrait.
Right. Okay.
Anyway.
But it's getting rid of that interface. That's the key. All right. Very good. Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for jumping in. Last minute, save the day. We have a couple more questions that rolled in here. The next question is from Eduardo Augustine from Panama. He said, these slides started as a blank and you manually built every piece. Yep, every little piece. That's how we roll here. So yeah, they're all of that stuff is all done in Keynote and just built to play out. And again, when you look at a lot of those animations, it's pretty powerful. Like, you can really build a video inside of it that looks pretty compelling. Next question. Oh, that's me. Eduardo Augustine from Panama says, the original question was cut off. Wanted to know the difference between screen scraping and screen sharing. Screen sharing tends to be something that you from an iOS device, you say, I want to screen share this out. Screen scraping, well, and also if you're doing something like a software like Parsec or Apple Remote Desktop or other things, you're going to share and you're going to share your screen inside of a software. Screen scraping tends to mean, these aren't technical terms, they're just terms we use a lot, but screen scraping tends to be a process of we take the HDMI out and we just record it somewhere else. So that or we're just grabbing raw screen bits. They're very similar to each other. Screen sharing tends to be something that happens within an application, where screen scraping is like, I'm just taking the raw bits and I'm pulling them and grabbing onto them. So that's the process there. And yeah, so thanks to our producers for asking all the good questions, and thanks to Brian and everyone else for jumping on and answering some questions. And it's a fun little discussion.
Keep doing that. I learned tons today.
Yeah. Because I realize I sit in Keynote constantly, and so it's hard for me because I don't know what's interesting. Like, I don't know, I've been using Keynote since 1.0 or so. And so I realized that there's a lot of things that I do. And then I'm like, why? The reason I started doing this was because I was talking to someone. I said, these presentations people make are so bad. Like, they're so, and they're like, well, they don't know how to use the tool. Like they know how to put text on screens. They don't know how to do all the other things. And so they don't do them. And I realized that, oh, well, we could probably, my goal is I think that if I and Brian and a couple other folks are showing the way we do it, that 50 people or 100 people in office hours will get up to our speed really quickly. Keynote is not that hard to learn. So everyone gets up to our speed, and then I'll start learning from everybody else. I'll learn, because a lot of these tricks, again, I've said it before, like, there's companies that just, this is all they do, and they know tricks that are intense, and inside of it. And so my goal is to first get it. And if enough of us show up for these, we'll get experts to come in and talk to us about it. But we have to, it's kind of a chicken or egg thing. So I feel like, well, I'll just start filling it in. And when Emily doesn't have something that she wants to do for the second hour, or for the technical hour, then I'll just do more Keynote. And we'll do it at least once a month, but more if there's not as many things to schedule. I don't want to make it something that becomes that either Emily or I have to feel like we have to produce something. So Keynote Labs will be kind of the default when something else isn't there. Go ahead, Tony.
So I was trying to add a source. I understood everything you guys saying about it needs to be connected to the computer separately. An interesting thing happened while I was trying to do just try to add one of the iPads. So I was trying to add one of the iPads. I went in to add live video source. It was showing me my son's Apple TV.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 4K.
It can see it on the network. It can see it on the network.
But it can't see my third generation, even though it's connected.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. It might not be able to see the third generation. That might be an issue because I may not have the chipset in it that's required to make that work.
Okay.
But I don't know. But again, I'll have to test it. I've got lots of different versions of the Apple TV, so I'll see if I can find. I'll see if I can plug different ones in and see if they show up.
Okay. Thanks.
Cool.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of fun. So tomorrow we'll have, of course, the typical 2 hours of just chit chat. Next week, Sundays are really a good time. Think about things that are more philosophical about office hours. We'll probably spend, as we grow, we'll spend less time answering office hour questions during the week. And more time doing it on Sundays. so it's because it just it's as we have a larger audience, it's going to be less applicable because you have to remember that 90% of our audience by the end of the year will never interact with Discord or after hours or anything else. They'll just know it as a show. So Inside Baseball will probably go away. So come Sunday with questions. Anyways, thanks to our producers for all the great questions, keeping this rolling for a long time. we did this effortlessly, as always, and thanks to our fine panelists who have, some of you have stuck it out the whole time or most of the time. So thank you so much for your contribution. And now we're going to jump into after hours.